Am I the asshole for making a claim against my neighbor for hitting my car, even though my car is a beater? Hmm. Let's read about it. Have you done these before?
Hmm. I haven't heard this one.
All right.
Sounds interesting.
Am I the asshole for making an insurance claim against my neighbor for hitting my car, even though it's a beater? I have an older car that I bought for $2,000 when I was 16. I'm 26 now. In the time I've had it, I've learned a lot about car maintenance. I fix it up with junkyard parts, and it's pretty cheap to keep it running. It's dented and rusty as hell, but it goes and it's cheap. So anyway, my neighbor parks in his driveway and I park on the street. He's gotten mad at me for parking in the street because he finds it harder to navigate his big truck around my car. I asked him if he wants me to move my car ahead a bit or behind a bit on the street because I'm happy to. But I have to park somewhere on the street because I don't have a driveway or garage space. He didn't like that. He doesn't want me parking on the street at all. But I'm not about to park on a whole different street than I live at. Anyways, this week I was sitting on my fire escape reading my book, and I saw my neighbor drive out his driveway right into my car's side. I grabbed my phone and started filming ASAP. I walked out to the car, still filming, and got a good video of the damage to the door panel. It was dented and scratched. Now my car was already pretty beat. It's got body panels from 3 different cars, dents and dings all over it. It's got damage to the convertible soft top that I fixed up with glue and patches, etc. It's a tough old girl. So the new damage didn't bother me much. I didn't plan on fixing it, but it did bother me that my neighbor hit and run my car, especially because he knew it belonged to me. So after a few days of thinking on it, I decided to file an insurance claim. I sent the company the video, which had got my neighbor's license plate in it. Thought they could find his insurance and settle. The insurance company said that for a hit and run, policy was that I needed to file a police report. So I did. I wasn't expecting that much, but I got $1,600 payout from my neighbor's insurance. I guess they appraised my car based on its estimate value, based on model and year, and didn't pay attention to the fact that it's an absolute beater with a lot of DIY fixes. Anyway, my neighbor is mad at me and came to my house after after the insurance thing had paid out, and he was looking to yell at me. But my landlord was there in the hallway doing some repairs, and when he came looking for which door was mine, my landlord told him that he wasn't invited to get the hell off his property. I guess he could tell this guy was angry and probably wasn't a good idea to send him up to my room. Feel a little bad that I hid, laughed out loud. Feels cowardly, but it was also cowardly he did a hit and run. Am I the asshole for taking a huge insurance payout on my beater car because my neighbor hit it? That was interesting.
I think they're both assholes. He should have gone to his neighbor and talked to him about it. Filing a claim is never the first answer, like, period, unless your house burnt down. But he should have just gone to his neighbor, because here's your option. You can either pay me the $1,600 to fix it, or I'm going to file this claim and your insurance is going to pay for it, and then you're going to pay for it for the next 5 years, right? But it kind of sounds like this guy filed it with his insurance and then had them go after the other guy's insurance. So it's going to come back to bite him too now. So I think they're both assholes. What do you think?
Well, it's always like, what's great about these is we don't have all the details,
Yeah,
right?
that one sounds lofty. I don't even believe he got $1,600 for that car.
I agree with you on that. But I agree with what your first reaction is. So I had this interesting experience with one of my daughters. And she came home one day and broke down crying. And we had been working with her on a few things. And we found out that she was being bullied on social media. And this girl was posting stuff about her, claiming that she was all types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's knee-jerk reaction is like, we're going to the school and we're blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, no. I was like, I'm calling up their parents and I'm going over to this house and I'm going to figure this shit out. I said, I'm still going to the school, but I'm not going to drop a dime on somebody and then go meet them in the school. I'm going to, even though I don't feel like I'm old, even though I don't feel like I'm an old school kind of guy, but I guess I am because, like, to me, like, that's bullshit. Like, I went over there. I called the guy up. I was like, hey, I got an issue. I was like, you can come over to my house. I can come over to your house, but we're talking tonight. He's like, come on over. Uh, and that to me is always the first approach. And I have this conversation with agents in our office all the time. They'll be like, what should I do? Should I text? Pick up, pick up the phone, pick it up. Like, just really,
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, it's just
think
pick up the phone, call, have a
talk.
conversation with them. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I suspect, but given the history, that even if he went and knocking on the door with this guy,
Oh, I don't
this
disagree.
guy was the guy with the truck was an asshole because it sounds like he's nitpicking him about parking on the street and like,
Don't buy a house next to an apartment building then. That's on him, right?
There is truth to that. Like there's people, this is another thing experience at our house. My driveway backs, I'm on a corner, so my neighbor's driveway is offset of mine. And what's convenient for most people is to park right offset of their driveway, which is right off.
Mm-hmm.
If their driveway's here, I back into it. So it's like, it leaves your car vulnerable to get hit more often. So like, if you're smart, you're not going to park there because I'm pulling out. If I not paying attention, increases the odds of hitting that car. But yeah, exactly. And I point this out to my clients all the time when we're shopping for houses and we're looking at a house. I'm looking at the mix of the block of like, what's that going to be like if you're looking to have a 20-year home to raise a family and the block is 75% apartments. I don't know if it's the right decision for you or not, but I'm going to raise that point. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
If you're buying a house and you're next to an apartment building, think about that because
you can't get mad at people for
parking on the street, especially depending on where they live. Like in Chicago, like you can get mad, but you're going to be angry for a really, really long time. So, but I agree. I think the first point is going over to talk to him. So I kind of agree with the guy with the beater car, like you're an asshole. And it seems like he was just mad at him.
100 vengeance. It sounds like
yeah,
it was
because
vengeance.
they've had a tense relationship because they're just not able to have just simple, basic conversations. And just, it's so important to do that with your neighbor, with whoever that is. And I used the example earlier in this podcast about someone hitting my car. Like, if they would have left a note, I wouldn't have been nearly
so different.
It's such a different approach. And which creates an ethical dilemma. You nudge a beater, like,
100%. But also don't file an insurance claim for $1,600.
I agree with that.
Ever, please.
Ever.
Yeah.
Don't. And that's like
not a good idea.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think they're both assholes. And the reason why they're in that situation is because they were kind of assholes together to each other.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
I don't think that was, I think it was like loft. They like painted some embellishments in that story.
Oh, maybe.